Hello everyone and welcome back to round 3 of the F124 driver career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here for the Australian Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live quite late yesterday evening, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out from Saudi Arabia. We have got ourselves up to a 67 overall driver rating now after another solid points finish in the opening rounds of the season there. So I'm pretty happy with how progress is going early on. You can see we also gained 1 focus and 1 experience stat from last time out as well. So everything going in the right direction early on in this series as well. And of course, obviously, if you're new around here, please do make sure you leave a like and get yourself subscribed. But as we head to Albert Park, Australia, we have hopefully got our first big upgrades of the season coming into the car. I don't believe, actually, at the moment we can do any other upgrades, because Hulkenberg and myself have been working very, very busily behind the scenes to try and get as many upgrades as we possibly can. So fingers crossed, there we go. Cockpit weight reduction, cylinder head, and obviously some more R&D coming in.
All the new parts have been fabricated and we're going to have them with us for the next Grand Prix.
Fantastic news then. So hopefully the team will be, I mean, we're pretty much now in line with Visa Cash App as well there. So happy with how things are going.
Upgrades that are currently in progress. This is now split between upgrades that you started and those that your teammates started. So I know exactly who's getting the brownie points after a good weekend. You can toggle which list you want to see right here.
There we go, very interesting. So we actually get a good look at what parts, obviously, both myself and Nico are doing to the car as well then, and obviously
charts the performance progress of all of the teams. It allows you to view our progress versus the rest of the competition over multiple seasons. And you know me, I love a graph.
There you go, Mark Priestley there enjoying himself as well, looking at that graph. But can we do any other upgrades on the car? We can do a cable assembly upgrade as well, which should be on ready for Shanghai. But we're just going to be working, obviously, very, very rapidly behind the scenes, trying to get as many upgrades onto the car as we can. But yeah, let's head out then here to Albert Park, Australia.
Albert Park welcomes you. Let's get this show on the road then. It's practice here in Australia.
Well, I have once again then continued to bump up the AI as we move into qualifying for this third round of the season. Sorry, into free practice even for this third round of the season. So we are now up to 106 overall. The AI on this year's game certainly seemed to be a little bit easier. Maybe helped, of course, by just how much easier it is to drive these cars. Albert Park, Australia has always felt like a very, very low grip circuit. So we'll see if that carries through into F124 on tyre wear run. Then first time round was looking pretty terrible right until the end of the lap. Usually if we can like just about scrape a score, then I won't worry about going for another one. But when we were so close to purple, it just tempts me into doing an extra lap. Well, like they always say, practice does in fact make perfect. And there we go, second time round, purple score.
We've got some excellent data with that run, so come on back to the garage and I can take you through the numbers.
Yeah, like I said, every episode I'm just going to kind of work more and more on these behind the scenes. So I guess I'll see you guys in qualifying.
Hello everyone, it is time for qualifying at one of our very favourite stops on the calendar. It's Albert Park and we're about to take the cars right up to the edge.
Well, in yesterday's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, we tried to make it through Q1.
Down to P16.
I hate the way he says that before I've got onto a lap. The game's been out a day and a half, and that already annoys me. But yeah, obviously we tried to make it through Q1 just on a set of the mediums. We did actually set a time good enough to do that on the Jeddah Corniche as well. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Hopefully it'll give us some extra sets of softs for later on in qualifying. But here at Albert Park, though, this has historically been a really, really good track for Haas as well. And they've had some of their best ever results around Australia and Austria, of course. So hopefully this weekend we can try and continue that. These cars, they've got so much high-speed grip. Albert Park feels like a completely different circuit to drive on. Not sure whether the AI is trying to finish a lap or start a lap or what's going on, but out of the final corner, not far behind, we are going to set a 1:17.7. That puts us quicker than Alex Albon, up in 7th place. And apparently I can't find the apex of turn 1. Well, George Russell then, the only driver to dip into the 1:16s there at the end of the first qualifying session. We must admit, might have got slightly complacent towards the end of the session. It was actually a lot closer than I have ever expected it to be. But P14 for us, we make it through on that medium compound. I'm not expecting a huge pace difference again between the mediums and the softs, but disappointment for Hulkenberg there. Once again on the back row of the grid. Daniel Ricciardo last, ready for his home GP. The other Australian, Oscar Piastri, quicker than Lando Norris by 0.005 of a second. Well, a couple of minor technical gremlins then have disrupted our Q2 running, so we're going to head out. There are like 6 minutes left on the clock, I believe. We should hopefully have enough time to get 2 runs in if we need them. But maybe, just maybe, we can try and sneak through into Q3. It worries me how kind of normal I want to believe Q3 should be for us in this car. Admittedly, we have also been to 3 tracks at the start of the year, which really, really do suit it as well. Do not hit the inside curb through that corner. That is immediately going to upset our rhythm. 5 minutes left then on the clock. Yeah, this first lap on the softs has certainly been a bit scrappy, and I don't think it's going to be one to write home about as we navigate our way through the final corner. Open up that overtake mode out of the final turn as well. It is going to be a 1:18.4. We stay in last place then after the first run. 7/10 slower than we managed on mediums in Q1. Well, we are going to be 3-0 against Nico Hulkenberg so far in qualifying this season. But are we going to make it 3 Q3s in a row? That is the all-important question for ourselves. Really is now under a bit of pressure here as we try and navigate our way through turn 1. Got to remember to use a bit more of the battery around the lap as well. Yeah, I think the first time around we did struggle a little bit with that. Sorry to avoid that apex. Actually get a lot of understeer though by going too far out. A lot of the corners now around obviously Albert Park are very, very cambered on the inside. 10th&a-half up though by the end of sector 1. Oh, we got the apex. We did hit the apex, but we certainly unsettled the rear of the car as well through taking a bit of grass as we make our way out onto the back straight there. 2/10 up at the moment. I am not confident that this is going to be enough. Don't tell me our fastest lap of the entire session is going to be on a set of mediums in Q1. That would certainly not be the time to deliver. I think we need to be down in the mid to high 17s. So I'll just nick the inside curb as well there as the pressure ramps up towards the end of this session. We are not delivering at the moment. 2 more corners to go. Try and send it through the penultimate turn. We have found a little bit more, but we are met with even more understeer through the final corner, almost into the wall on the outside. Will it be Q3? It's P12 in the end, and the pressure really did get to us. There we go then, Max Verstappen on a 16.6 there. That is a rapid lap time, but my Q1 run would have been enough to see us through there. Alex Albon up in P5, so a magnificent effort by the Williams driver there. Yeah, that's staggering. Quicker than a Ferrari, both McLarens and both Mercs. So Aston Martin, the only team, Mercedes-powered team that seemed to be any quicker than the Williams there, which is rather impressive. But we only missed out by 10th&a-half in the end. Hamilton and Russell really did struggle here. But we line up just ahead of Valtteri Bottas. We got 1,000th of a second between us and the Kick Sauber. They are still, I believe, our main rival.
It is one of the great Formula One Grand Prix of the entire year. Over 400,000 Australian fans here across the weekend. The roar of the crowd means one thing. It's race day in Melbourne. We're in the great state of Victoria. Now 14 corners and 3.28 miles for the drivers to navigate, 5 to the left and 9 to the right. The track has been remodeled to encourage more overtaking. Let's hope we get loads of it today. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Fernando Alonso, Russell, Hamilton, Norris, Leclerc, Sainz, Oscar Piastri, Albon, Stroll, Mr. Monaco, Bottas, Joe, Tsunoda, Sargent, Ocon, Gasly, Hulkenberg, and Daniel Ricciardo fills the last spot on the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. Welcome to the commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes. Alongside us for this one is Naomi Schiff. Now, those final hours before a race, did you have a routine?
Well, every driver certainly has their own way of preparing themselves before a race. But I can tell you that pre-race rituals are a real thing. When I was in go-karting, I used to touch every wheel in a specific sequence before I got into the kart. And then I stepped up to cars and had a specific set of fireproof base layers just for race day. So watch the drivers when they're on the grid. Some may be sitting on the floor and isolating, others may be up to other things that they do. But these little things really help their minds get ready for the race.
We're not in the best position to get another points finish, so try and use the first lap to your advantage and make up places.
Well, we learned a lot in Jeddah yesterday, just about, how the way the AI interact with each other, how, kind of car strengths and weaknesses as well of this Haas. And, well, I think Australia might end up being a very, very similar story. We saw all of the front runners, their pace ramped up towards the end of the session. But once again, I feel like staying in the slipstream is going to be key. However, top speed this weekend, I think I've set up the car a little bit more in that strength as well. So hopefully that is going to carry through into race day Sunday. They're lining up P12 on the grid. We've got Stroll and Albon just in front. Those kick-sours right behind it is 5 red lights. And a mighty long pole, but it is lights out and away we go there. And just didn't quite have enough power down. So trying to mash the foot to the floor, and that was not a nice sound coming from the Ferrari power unit. We'll have a look around the outside of the Canadian down at Turn 1. Always a scary place to be with Lance Stroll, because you never quite know whether he spotted you there. But a fairly undramatic start here in Albert Park then. Often we expect to see cars 2-3 wide as Hamilton and Norris finally decide to put on a little bit of a show. Bottas as well, trying to look around my outside as we make our way through the car park. That wall this year, I don't know whether it's just these cars and they're understeer or what, but it suddenly feels a whole lot closer than it has been in previous titles there. As we'll try and use a little bit of overtake out onto the back straight. You can see there, yeah, we have got some top end speed, and then you get up to 8th gear. And those Mercedes power units have a whole lot of torque, so not a lot we can do. 3 wide up in front temporarily, as once again we saw it all day last weekend. Ferraris there going side by side with each other, and any other car they can basically find. There's already a breakaway between those Red Bulls. I believe Russell and Fernando Alonso, are forming at the front of the field. I don't know who Fernando Norris is, but he is definitely a love child that we do not need. Well, really, really important then for our front 4 drivers to try and get out of that DRS window from everyone behind. Sergio Perez, though, actually leading the Grand Prix. So Max Verstappen, I mean, he won't go undefeated all year, of course, but I am intrigued to know who is going to be the first driver to stop him in this campaign. Whether it'll be this weekend or not is anybody's guess, but now obviously we're in the DRS with these cars in front. It's going to be interesting to see kind of how Albon stacks up against those front runners. Piastri struggling to match as well those 2 Ferraris and his teammate. It really does feel like every race early on is kind of, where does the pack spread out? Oh, there we go. That's very interesting for us. We need to try and give Lance Stroll the hurry up through these final couple of corners. Bottas temporarily dropping actually out of the DRS detection point. Would be nice if we got those kick-sour cars out of the range. Not convinced we have, but yeah, they for the first time this year seem to just be struggling a little bit. I'm really, really hoping those kick-sours drop out of that DRS range there. Bottas, it looks like if it wasn't last lap, it might well happen this time round. Tyre wear early on, that's the other big question. Seems to be fairly high. So, in the ideal world, what I hope happens, of course, is we don't have to worry about those 2 green cars behind. We can really just focus on nursing our own tyres early on, making sure we stay in the range of the cars in front. I don't think Bottas has stayed in the range this time.
Back by about 3/10 a lap. Well done.
He seems to be trying to use a lot of battery to make it happen. 4 DRS zones, of course, around this Albert Park circuit. It really does create a very, very different racing dynamic.
Okay, mate. Engine's running too hot. Engine is running too hot. Let's keep it a bit cooler for now, please.
Well, they love a good engine temperature program in these races so far this season. We got another one on the books. Well, I mean, yeah, the real story so far this season has obviously just been these huge DRS trains that seem to be forming. Suzuka next weekend, obviously only 1 DRS zone there, so I'm hoping that, it isn't just going to be like this every single race this campaign. Bottas, though, now, sorry, Zhou Guanyu even, I should say, now, has definitely dropped out of that group behind us, so race seems to have really fallen into 3 separate clusters. You got myself up to Max in the lead, and then obviously both those Kick Saubers and I believe Sonoda, of all people, just in one little bunch together, and then our back marker cars, so we're now going to really kind of move our focus over onto tyre wear. So I don't think we're really going to try and challenge Stroll in front. That's why I need to work on the tyre wear. Starting lap 10 then, tyre wear 52%, so we have been able to claw it back in slightly over the last few laps and just kind of bring it down to that 5%. I need to get to the end of lap 12 though, before we dive into the pit lane there, so we can try and take the hard tyres to the end of the afternoon. Yeah, it's a very, very weird one. It actually feels like the worst corners on this lap are actually, you know, putting more pressure through the right-hand side tyres. But it's, you know, it's the final corner where you're really kind of cambered in. It really does push out on that front end and through there as well. You feel like you're putting the car under a lot of pressure in a very, very unorthodox way. You never really think about it on some of the older games, but it's also that front temp as well. Every lap it just goes up into the overheating territory, and that will absolutely chew them to pieces. Our tyre wear warning light has flashed up. I'm just trying to see. Albon definitely seems to be dropping away from Oscar Piastri a little bit more of these last couple of laps, so we're going to try and see if we can get a run around the outside of Stroll. And again, I'm going to guess the Aston Martin driver simply didn't see me there. He's very, very slow on the exit of the chicane and might now actually try and get a run on Alex Albon. Oh, easy, easy, easy. Don't want to risk anything too early. Oh, big run that time round on the Aston Martin. It's a pull over outside of the yellow line to try and make some space for my front wing. Down the inside of Lance, though, will go. Oh, he wanted to turn in. Very, very aggressive from the Canadian. Just make our way through the final couple of corners. I think, weirdly, when you're in a back marker car, he seems to be a bit of a main character in this game, because of course he's the only way you can actually try and score some points. No time left on the table though, as we make our way into the pit lane, turn those tyres into 50 pence pieces. Of course, got to remember now that the pit lane speed limit is 50 miles an hour here, not 37 with the new opened up pit lane. Oh, no problem. Damn it.
The right front wheel. We need to try and put that behind us though and finish the race strong.
I mean, that might be game over. You simply do not know on this game. That might be us ruined.
No more scheduled pit stops. Let's go.
No idea what's going on with Alpine. I can only assume they're 2 stopping and I never saw them pit, because they are a long way behind everybody.
Okay, mate. We've got some clear track around us now, so let's use it and make this next lap a quick one. Let's go.
It only be in our 3rd race of this series, but I'm already starting to notice a slight pattern in some of the targets this game sets me. We've got a whole host of AI into the pit lane though, so that's not particularly good for me. Of course, they've been able to go a little bit further on their medium tyres, and we might lose out on some track position.
Okay, gap to the car ahead, 5.1 seconds.
Albon has got the jump on Lando Norris though, so I can only assume that McLaren had a bit of a disaster in the pits, but we need to get inside the range of that McLaren. We might be about to run into a big problem here. We've got, I think, Logan Sargent and our teammate at the front of this little train of cars. One of the Mercs, must be Lewis Hamilton, I would assume, has been able to get ahead of it all. But suddenly, I mean, with how strong the DRS is here, how much the trains have formed early on, that might be a real difference maker. Hulkenberg into the pit lane then, as plenty of other cars making their way back out.
Hit the target. Nice work.
We've achieved our target time as well, but we've actually jumped Oscar Piastri and Lance Stroll here, so Stroll now might be out of the range for good. Looks like our top 2 have been able to break free, but we've not done as badly in all of that as I thought we would. Maybe saved by our teammates somewhat. Surprised absolutely nobody then. The Red Bull that's broke away at the front of the field is Max Verstappen.
10 now. Keep it up.
Oh no, what's Piastri trying to do? He thought about a look down the inside of turn 1. We've been very, very confident in our sweeping manoeuvres around the outside of AI so far this season. But yeah, there looks to be more and more squabbling going on up the road. This really is just turning into Jeddah 2.0 right now. Alex Albon then at the moment, just watching the AI over the last couple of laps, seems to be becoming more and more vulnerable. So we're going to have to try and pull the trigger here and see if we can get a run on both him and Lando Norris. I mean, look at the speed we've got. 208 miles an hour as we go around the outside of not one but two cars down the back straight. That kind of all came a little bit out of nowhere, but we've been able to get onto the back of Alonso in front. Obviously, you don't have two separate detection points. It is just one kind of DRS zone split in two. But yeah, I'm just a little bit worried that Albon is not going to be able to hang in the range of these cars in front. That's where we need to try and be. I can see Perez and George Russell having an absolute ding-dong up in front. Sergio now is desperately trying to make moves wherever he can, but it might actually leave him more vulnerable to those Ferraris behind. I mean, is it the kind of racing I want every single episode of this series? No. Is it quite good fun still seeing it early on in this game? And is it giving us a chance to fight for more positions than I'd normally be able to get? Absolutely. We aren't going to knock it early on inside F124. It's allowed us to score points already, obviously in Jeddah, and maybe the same fate will befall us today, as once again we're going to try and see if we can get a big run down this back straight. Not quite close enough that time round to Alonso where I need to be. You can see Albon is terribly dropping back there as Sergio Perez around the outside of George Russell. Are we going to be able to capitalise on the exit and maybe get a run down the inside of Fernando? He's going to go defensive from me. Oh, he's actually almost had a look at the inside of Charles Leclerc there, but we'll go round the outside of the Spaniard. Up into P7 we go of the GP. We've got to try and move forward. We've got to try and make an impact here, because ultimately I'm worried that our tyres are going to hit the cliff before the end of this race. We're almost halfway through this stint, and the tyres already halfway through their usable wear, as here comes Fernando down the inside. Realises that's not a good idea. Perez and Russell again side by side, so we don't lose out too badly. Are we going to see Sainz try and make a move? No, we aren't. This is just, again, a bit like Jeddah. It feels like things are starting to bubble up to the surface. As we are a Ferrari young driver, we probably don't want to be messing around with their cars too much, but I'm a racer at the end of the day, and I want to try and get a move done there. Perez to the outside of Russell again. We had a look to the inside of Charles Leclerc, but certainly haven't quite got the same engine performance as the Ferrari factory car. There's Alonso now as well. I'm hoping we kind of see Albon fall off from this group. As much as I want to see Williams do well, they are a rival to us in this series, so I'm kind of wanting them to drop back. I mean, if it wasn't for Russell and Perez having such a battle here today, as here we go, Carlos Sainz now fancies are looking on the action. We've still got Alonso trying to make moves wherever possible, and now Charles Leclerc going to get a little tripped over in all of this. We've got to be able to try and capitalise where opportunities open up for us down the outside of the Ferrari driver. Oh, he gets a big wobble, Charles Leclerc there. We had to give him evasive action and give him the space he needed. Does get the car straightened up, but we take a little trip, dipping the wheel in the gravel. It just never seems to break up this group. No matter what happens, everyone just seems bunched up together. You know what? We had a full charge of battery there. We're going to try and go for it. Can we get a run on Charles Leclerc down this back straight? Gaining on the Ferrari to the outside will go. Oh, he brakes early. Around the outside. Down the end of the middle sector. And suddenly now we are in a Ferrari sandwich here in Albert Park. What is that by Carlos Sainz? He wanted to try and give you some room, and then decided at the last moment, once I'd gone for it, then in fact he didn't fancy giving me any room there. Oh, Sainz this time round. I mean, the AI, they clearly know that the other's going to put them in the wall down the end of that back straight. Perhaps that's what Sainz thought I was going to back out of it last time round, because he was squeezing me towards the wall. But Perez and Russell, shout outs to those two today, because they have absolutely given us an opportunity for a much better result than we ever were going to deserve here. It was Ferrari last time out. Admittedly, in Bahrain, it was our own strategy. I mean, every time by the time you get back down towards Zone 1, they are pushing each other all over the road. And surely at some point soon, someone else is going to be able to get a look in here. Carlos Sainz! That was almost GG's. Almost GG's. Luckily, we kind of locked at the fronts. Somehow, again, the rear locking on this game, very odd. Because you get so much traction, it kind of straightens itself out again without you having to do a lot. I'll hold up my hands and admit, I absolutely did not deserve to save that. But things are getting ragged. I mean, it goes to show how ridiculously powerful the DRS trains are still on this game. Kick Sauber easily have got a better car than us here, but because we're able to keep up with some of these faster machines, we've just been able to pull away from them, and they have had no chance this afternoon there as Perez ran the outside of Russell again. I've now gone past Carlos Sainz, because at this point of the day, I'm sensing that we might have an opportunity for a podium. 2 laps to go. We've got to try and recharge the pack, pray these two continue to battle, and maybe silverware in just our 3rd ever Grand Prix. As we make our way then through the final couple of corners to start the last lap of the Australian Grand Prix. Let's not forget, in 2023, Nico Hülkenberg should have scored a podium here.
Final lap of the race, final lap.
Had they not changed the restart order under the safety car, Hülkenberg, when that final red flag came out, was in P3, and I genuinely believe to this day should have had that podium for this team. Tyre wear warning light has just flashed up, but are we about to rewrite the wrongs of that weekend for Haas? We're trying to save up as much battery as we can. Perez and Russell will absolutely go side by side down the back straight again, but we have just got to try and be there as we hang the car right over the curbing, get on the battery. We've got to open it up, open up the taps, keep our foot, mash to the floor. There's... I cannot believe that.
Are you alright? Engine off, engine off.
What on earth is that? Yeah, I mean, let's just watch this back. Sergio Perez, he tucks in the slipstream, moves out, and then moves around at completely the wrong point there, and just completely taken by surprise. Had to keep our foot in, and Alonso has gone over the top of us at the end of the Australian Grand Prix there. I don't think... I certainly haven't seen as dramatic a crash like that in a long old time. How on earth did the Ferrari avoid us? I mean, I'm sure they got a good view of this. Take a look at this then from Carlos Sainz's point of view. You can see we go straight into the wall, lose the wheel on the outside of the venue there, and as we move back across the circuit, of course, no control at this point. We do actually keep the wheels locked. Look how close that is. Carlos Sainz, he does actually get collected in the end, but it somehow is only rear wheel contact. Charles Leclerc, his teammate, I don't believe really had anywhere to go in the end, and will lose his entire wing and a wheel. And Fernando Alonso as well, you can already see, has locked up those fronts, desperately just trying to stop that car, but nothing he can do into the side of us, and actually mounts the Haas car as we make our way down the back straight. So we get a good look at the all-new crash physics of F1 24. That is absolutely mental. But what an end to the Australian Grand Prix, and after looking like a podium might be possible, we are going to walk away with absolutely nothing. Debris everywhere, even the Williams has gone in. So maybe in all of this, Kick Sauber are still going to end up with some points.
We've witnessed some great battles on the streets of Melbourne today then, and they've taken a fantastic win.
Wow, that's 3 wins in a row. They really are on a roll now and really building great momentum. They're clearly one to look out for.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves.
I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that. I genuinely thought going into that final lap we might be able to complete a miracle here down under. But Max Verstappen takes the win ahead of Lewis Hamilton and Sergio Perez there. Red Bull Mercedes at the front of the field. Somehow Carlos Sainz escaped that crash without damage either, beating out both McLaren, Stroll, and both Kick Saubers, of course our big title rivals, able to pick up the pieces as well and take home some points in the end. Hulkenberg with a season best 12th place there, just behind Yuki Tsunoda, and myself, Alonso, Leclerc and Albon all failing to see the checkered flag. I think, honestly, the bit that stings most, the fact that we didn't even get our fastest lap bonus point, but an absolute airplane crash at the end of the Australian Grand Prix there. It's been a while since I've seen a Formula 1 car go on top of another one, but Fernando Alonso managed it this weekend. Taking a look at the Drivers' Championship, well, with that result, Carlos Sainz now second in the championship, 37 points back from Max Verstappen here. Leclerc in fourth ahead of Lando and Lewis, who gets his first podium of the campaign there. Perez up in sixth now ahead of Alonso and Piastri there. And we are down in P12 now, 2 points back from Valtteri. Still somehow ahead of Lance though. So I guess, you got to look at the positives where possible there. And Williams robbed of their first points of the campaign. Constructors wise, well, yeah, we're still in seventh, but with the gap to Kick Sauber opens up as well in front of us there as Ferrari drop back 32 points now behind the Red Bull team as well. But thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed. Fingers crossed as we head out to Suzuka next weekend. We aren't going to see another crash like that, but that certainly made things very, very entertaining towards the end, but absolutely gutted. We'll be back later on today, hopefully to redeem ourselves in the Japanese Grand Prix.